I'm going to talk about The Orphan Master's Son by Adam Johnson. I can't imagine how I missed this book when it came out in 2013 and it won the Pulitzer Prize, and not surprisingly, it's the most fascinating book. It's set in North Korea, so that makes it fascinating right away. The story is in two parts. The first part is the biography of Hwan Do. We could call him John Doe, we could call him Everyman, we could call him even Candide, because he is a kind of an innocent and he is the orphan master's son. Or is he? Who knows? But he has a wretched, wretched childhood. Orphans are the lowest of the low in North Korea. Now, I'm not going to go into what goes on because it's a very elaborate story, a very cleverly told story, but I've certainly read by a Korean Watcher journalist that nothing in the book isn't true. In other words, everything's true. All these extraordinary things that go on. And Hwan Do, in the first half of the book, we hear all about his life. The second half of the book is called The Confessions of Commander Gar. Without going into any detail, Hwan Do has murdered the rampant homosexual Commander Gar, head of the North Korean army and second in power to Kim Il-jung, in the tunnels in the prison camp where he's incarcerated, Hwan Do, and has assumed his personality, his role, and mysteriously is accepted by everybody. So that's the two halves of the book. The narrative, there are three voices. And the first voice is the most beguiling, perhaps, because that's the propaganda voice. That is the broadcast. That's how the book opens, with the, the daily broadcast that the North Korean populace are subjected to, the targets that have been met, the wonderful things that are going on in the Democratic Republic of Korea, all nonsense, really. And the story, the serial. There's a daily serial, and that story is the story of Commander Gar and Sun Moon, the famous film actress, and Hwan Do. The clever thing is that the timing is strange. We know many things from the broadcast which actually haven't happened yet in the book. And the second voice is the third person, the narrative that talks about Hwan Do's life. And the third voice, in the last part of the book, is the most poignant and the most powerful in some ways, and that's the voice of the interrogator, torturer, the man who writes I in his diary as he recounts the story that he's telling of Commander Gar and Hwan Do. He's the person who brings them both together. And that I is a struggle to write because he's a member of a culture where there isn't an I, there's only a we, a collective culture, a culture where anybody who presumes to be an I, other than the great leader, will find themselves arbitrarily in a prison camp or whatever. So, from what I've said, I hope that tantalises you and intrigues you. You might think, oh, I don't know if I want to read about North Korea. Well, actually, it's a very funny book. The funniest part is when Hwan Do finds himself as a translator on a mission to Texas, and things that go on that mission, the misunderstandings between the Koreans and the Texans, the double-speak that's going on, and even funnier, at the very end of the book, is the return trip of the Americans to Korea, this secret mission, where the Koreans build, because of course Kim Il-jung is a great fan of the movies, as I'm sure you all know, build a mock Texas ranch, and then the Americans let it know they're not going to leave the airfield, so the whole ranch is transported to the airfield, and then all kinds of events take place, which I won't talk about, which would completely spoil the plot. It's a kind of a love story, it's a kind of a thriller. It's a book about identity, very much about identity. It's a book about survival. It's a book that really I recommend you to read. Thank you.